Welcome to VikeFans.com's exclusive series, Jay's All-Out Blitz. A look inside the key challenges and issues facing NFL players and the Minnesota Vikings in 2013. And now your host, Tom Moore, and former NFL linebacker, Jay Foreman.
Welcome, everyone, to VikeFans.com and our October 9th edition of Jay Foreman's All-Out Blitz series. I'm Tom Moore, and I'm joined by former NFL linebacker Jay Foreman. And wow, Jay, it's been 2 weeks since we last aired, and the Vikings are undefeated since then. Of course, one of those weeks was a bye week, but we'll take anything we can get for this 2013 season.
Yeah, when you go into a bye week, you actually want to still work on some of your deficiencies. Obviously, they'd like to go into the bye week undefeated, but they start off a little slow, and they were able to go over to London and actually played pretty well under adverse circumstances. And so I know they're going to be feeling fresh and ready to kick off the second part of their season. So I think it's going to be a really good thing for them. The bye week couldn't be at a better time. And then obviously they made some big moves here in the last 48, 72 hours. So we'll see what happens here come Sunday.
Well, you allude to it, but there's no other way to start our conversation tonight than to ask you about the wheeling and dealings of the Viking front office to bring former Tampa Bay #1 draft choice Josh Freeman into what is now a full-fledged quarterback controversy. Why do you think the Vikings made this move, and what does Freeman offer to the offense that differs from Ponder and Castle?
Well, he's a former Pro Bowl quarterback 2 years ago. He has a big arm. He has playmaking ability. He isn't really a running threat, but he can run enough where he can pick up enough first downs. Big guy, big kid, and he has all the intangibles and all the attributes that you look for in a high-caliber starting quarterback in the NFL. So even though that he had a rough go at it down there in Tampa the last 2 years, I think the Vikings were able to look past that and see the potential of him. And it was actually a low-risk, high-return move by them where they have for the rest of the year, see what he can do, and then if they want to keep him around, they'll be able to bring him back for camp next year and have a full-fledged competition between him and Ponder. That would be pretty exciting.
When you look at the difference between Freeman the first couple of years and the last 2 years, what do you see different in his game that's made him drop off?
I think that when he really was doing really good in the first couple of years, obviously because the rookie they didn't have a lot of tape on him. The second year, he started to perform a little bit better. Than the third year, he made the Pro Bowl. What I see is when you have a lot of turnover, not only with the head coaching position, but then when you have different coordinators come in, different quarterback coaches, that affects the quarterback, not only for 1 year, but for 2 years. Then Giano come in there, and he's a totally different coach. He doesn't have any obligation to Josh Freeman. He probably came to Tampa with, negative thoughts on Josh Freeman. And he just seems like he's the type of coach that's not really a player's coach. I think he has the college mentality. Sometimes that just doesn't work at the pro level. And Josh Freeman feels very confident in what he can do as a player, what type of leader he is. You see that the guys on the team really rallied around him and know he's a good guy. Then when you have, your own authority figure really coming down on the centerpiece of your football team, it can be a distraction. And they parted, or best thing for both parties to part to be playing in Minnesota. So I know the Vikings.
Now you've got a situation where Ponder's now recovering from an injury he had, but when he's healthy again, do you expect he's the number 2 or the number 3 quarterback on this team right now?
He's going to be number 3, and I think it's something that where he's going to, I think, maybe be a code number 2. I think that if the Vikings have a couple more losses where they foresee a playoff run is out of the realm of things, I think they would probably throw him in there maybe before Matt Castle. I think it's something they're going to have to get him reps. I think Christian Ponder, and the way he's been playing, I think the rope is really short. And I think it's something that at the beginning of the season, I don't think they envisioned Josh Freeman being available after the 4th game of the season. It's something that it just fell into their lap. Josh Freeman wanted to come to Minnesota. There's tons of teams that were really looking at him. As you know, that there's probably about 16 teams out there that really aren't settled at the quarterback position, and Josh Freeman is a franchise quarterback. So when the Vikings can have him, Christian Ponder, and then obviously Matt Castle, and then Steve Webb as an emergency, as a more of a dual threat and change of pace quarterback. They're pretty set at that quarterback position as long as one of them steps up and takes the reins as the starter on the team.
Well, Jay, you've been on NFL teams with these quarterback controversies, I know. So I want to ask you, when you're in the locker room, what's the reaction going to be like from some of the players after they see Castle step up and now they've got a brand new face in the locker room?
First and foremost, all the guys on the team know it's a business. If they don't, they just found out a couple of days ago. Secondly, as a player, you practice against all these quarterbacks. Now, obviously not Josh Freeman, but Castle, and Ponder all offseason. So you kind of know in your mind who's the better quarterback, even though sometimes guys play because their draft status, how much they have invested in them. But then also new face comes in. Guys are really going to look and see how Christian Ponder reacts. They're going to see if he really steps his game up or if he goes high to the corner, because guys are always looking to their quarterback for their confidence, regardless of how long he's been in the NFL. The quarterback is the face of the team. He is the leader of the team, whether he likes it or not. And I think the Vikings made that move for a couple of reasons. One, they figured they can take a flyer on a franchise quarterback with low risk and high return. Two, they have Matt Castle, who's proven himself to be a stopgap starter. Then also, three, we'll see if it motivates Christian Ponder coming out of the bye week to play better and not just play to go 12 or 15 for 106 yards. They need Christian Ponder to push the ball down the field and be an NFL quarterback, and especially perform like a quarterback that was picked number 12 overall pick.
Do you get at all worried from your experience of seeing this happen before that the acquisition of Freeman could split the locker room for those who support Castle, those who support Freeman, and even a smaller group that supports Ponder?
It could get divided, but I think that Leslie Frazier and Foreman and all the guys up there in the scouting department, I think they're going to do a good job. They know what they're doing. They've drafted well. They've traded well. They've signed good players in free agency. They know what they're doing. I think that, yeah, of course, guys are going to want certain players to play. That's only natural. But at the end of the day, whoever plays, they're going to go out there and play 100% for it. Now, you might not like it, but that's just the NFL, and that's the business part of the NFL. Sometimes guys that shouldn't be playing are playing, but eventually the cream rises to the top.
Coach Leslie Frazier, including his press conference this week, continues to say he has faith in Ponder as his long-term quarterback. Jay, could that possibly be true when Castle may have already supplanted him as the starter and they just acquired a highly drafted 25-year-old to compete for the job?
It's hard to believe, but then also Leslie Frazier knows he has to keep Ponder with confidence. And the only way that a quarterback young and fragile like as Ponder is that they're either going to give him the confidence. I hope fans don't think that Josh Freeman is coming to the Minnesota Vikings to back up for 2 or 3 years when he just started as from a rookie on all the way until now being signed by the Vikings. He's coming here to, I guess, rehab his image, rehab his mindset, but then also he's coming here to start. If not for the Vikings, he's auditioning for the rest of the NFL or teams that need a quarterback for next year as well.
One of our members, Thunder God, wants to know if you think Viking management has a long-term plan in mind with the acquisition, or do you think they're just winging it?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's a wait-and-see project. You know, like I said, they're paying a guy $3 million for the rest of the season. He has a lot of money, but thinking about quarterbacks, and especially when you're thinking about franchise quarterbacks, that's not a lot of money. What they're trying to see is how they're going to fit him into the game plan, how they're going to get him reps in the game to evaluate him for that long-term process, if that is what they choose to do. But then also they have to weigh how does this affect Christian Ponder, because once Josh Freeman goes into the game and leapfrogs not only Matt Castle but Christian Ponder, they start. The Christian Ponder project is over. They put all the chips in for Josh Freeman, and moving forward, he's going to be the starter. And then they're going to have to go for, I guess, the playing field with Christian Ponder and what he's going to do. So it's going to be very interesting in the next, I would say, 2 to 4 games to see how that quarterback position plays out, not only with playing time, but the pecking order as well. Because let's face it, Matt Castle looks 2 or 3 times better than Ponder in just 1 start versus Ponder in 3. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens.
Well, you mentioned Castle, and 2 weeks ago against the Steelers in London, Castle, in fact, finally gave the pass offense a spark. What did you see from watching Castle that helped him make the passing game more efficient, and do you believe he's more than a short-term solution?
What I saw from him is I saw him playing with the confidence of not being afraid to fail. He was out there. He had a great command of the offense. I think that he has a good to decent arm, so he was able to stretch the ball down the field. He was really good with the timing routes, but then also, you know, some of the receivers have great plays that run after the catch as well. The long-term, I guess, prognosis with Castle, I think, yeah, they keep him around long-term. I don't envision them handing over the keys to the franchise to him and being a franchise starting quarterback. And he's shown he's a good, serviceable backup, but I don't envision him as being one of the top 32 starting quarterbacks in the NFL right now. But I think that he's somebody that you can rely on periodically for a 2 to 3 year span that will pay high dividends in a limited role. And that's where he really excels, and that's what he showed you against the Steelers.
Well, I want to ask you a question about your experience in huddles, because after the game, Greg Jennings and Adrian Peterson were effusive in their praise for Castle on how he commanded the huddle. Can you help people understand what does that mean for someone to command an offensive huddle?
Well, it's somebody that he stepped into the huddle with 100% total confidence in his abilities as a leader. And athletes are creatures of habit, but then athletes are also evaluate each other. We operate on a lot of senses, and when he got into the huddle, they sensed that he's been there before. He has confidence in himself, and so therefore, it gave all the other 10 guys in that huddle more confidence to go out there and play. And I you see with the way they've been playing, they showed a lot more confidence. They had some funk, and then also they had a belief that they knew Matt Castle was going to come in and do some good things.
The whole issue with the passing offense and the quarterback controversy has taken some attention off the defensive problems, and there certainly have been. Viking defense is ranked 29th in the league. They're giving up almost 430 yards a game. Is there something that defensive coordinator Alan Williams can do to help minimize the deficiencies of the pass defense?
This game here obviously was the game that they really busted out with the pass rush, having a lot of pressure on Big Ben back there. I think what has happened when you have two cornerbacks in particular that aren't established starters, the offenses are able to pick on whatever corner they want. And then with Aaron Henderson, making a transition into the middle, he struggled a little bit in pass coverage, but he's gotten better every single week. So I think eventually, as this defense gets used to playing with each other, they get everybody back healthy, that pass rush gets ramped up like it usually is on a year-to-year basis, I would envision that pass defensive numbers will come down drastically, and they'll start to play Viking defense that everybody else is used to playing.
It seems like they try to protect the defensive backs because they're younger, they're not as capable on man-to-man coverage. They have them back off the receivers, 6, 8, 9 yards off the line. Is there a way they can adjust that to make the coverage tighter?
Yeah, they can play a little bit more bump and run. They can play a little bit tighter zone coverage. I mean, let's face it, the Viking DBs, even though they're young, they're not slow. They're not out there running 4.6, 4.7. They can run. Let them get them up there, and if you're going to play zone, let them challenge the guys off the line of scrimmage. It's about the timing of the offense, but then also to give them confidence to playmaking ability. Because even with playing zone, they're able to see the passes and be able to break on the ball faster than out-game man-to-man defense. So put them up there a little bit tighter. Show the confidence in them, because the mindset of a defensive player, if somebody's telling me as a linebacker that I need to play 6 to 7 yards off of a tight end or a running back, that's telling me subconsciously that you don't have any confidence in me as a football player or as an athlete to cover these guys. That maybe it's some of my fault by not performing well enough in the preseason. But here we are in the season, and you can't just run one coverage or a few coverages, and every time the defensive backs are 6, 7 yards off the ball, you'll get killed every time in the pass game. And that's with the Packers so far this season. The Vikings have been exploited with the coverages and their pass coverage technique.
When you look at the Carolina Panthers, the next opponent on the schedule, what do you see about them on film, and what do the Vikings need to do to contain quarterback Cam Newton?
Well, first and foremost, the Carolina Panthers generally have a decent offensive line. They can run the ball and they can pass the ball. Any defense needs to play well against the run, and that's including keeping Cam Newton in the pocket so he doesn't scramble and get 80, 90 yards rushing himself. Secondly, Steve Smith is their only established receiver. I would envision that they're going to do something where they're going to either play a guy on underneath him and then one over top, or constantly double him or run some zone where you're really favoring everything with Steve Smith, because he is the only legitimate playmaker on the outside. Once you eliminate him, I think that works to the Vikings' defensive advantage and able to blitz more against Cam Newton, disguise different coverages, and take away his number one option moving forward. Should pay big dividends, and I'll see with the offense if it continues to play like it did last week against the Carolina defense that played well at times, can still run their passes themselves, but then also struggled at times this year. I think it would be the Vikings' advantage to pull out a game, which I think is going to be a close, hard-fought victory in the first place.
Well, elsewhere in the NFL, I know you do quite a bit of work for the Houston Texans, and as a former longtime Texan linebacker, I know you're pretty connected to the team. What's going on in Houston with quarterback Matt Schaub, and is his starting job in jeopardy?
I would envision his starting job in jeopardy. I mean, I guess the only thing, the saving grace for him is that there's not a legitimate backup quarterback behind him. Maybe like a Matt Castle or somebody like that around the league. They only have T.J. Yates and Cade Keenum, which aren't you really want to hand over a well-stocked playoff team to, even if Matt Schaub is struggling or continues to struggle. But I know Matt Schaub is not sleeping too much at night. He's had 4 straight games with throwing interceptions for touchdowns. He hasn't played well really all season long. And then obviously when you're a quarterback, you get blamed for a lot more than probably your responsibility. But then also you get awarded for a lot more that you're responsible for as well. So I know there's a lot of pressure mounting in Houston. They have an extremely hard schedule. The Colts are playing well. They're lucky to be 2-3 right now because they had a miracle comeback against San Diego and won in overtime against the Titans. So essentially they could be 0-5 and really thinking about cashing in the season. But they're 2-3. They still have a chance to win a division, possibly get home field advantage if they get on a run and start playing some good football. The problem with them, really, to be honest with you, regardless if you take out the 49ers, they just have not played a full game. They thought they played a full game against Seattle. They took their foot off the gas. Seattle came back with the interception for touchdown, which started it off. Seattle came back and won at the end of the game. This is a 60-minute game in the NFL. There's so much parity. Even though you were 12-4, 11-5 the year before, a team that wasn't very good the year before can beat you and beat you on a consistent basis if you don't go out and do the little things and play well.
If they can get their quarterback situation turned around, it sure appears they've got the right type of defense to go deep in the playoffs.
Most definitely. The defense is playing really well this year. I think they're number 1 overall ranked. I think they're getting the dividends back from Brian Cushing coming back because he's such a dynamic playmaker. He's a force on the inside. Couple him with J.J. Watt, Antonio Smith. Whitney Merciless is playing well on the outside, bringing some peace. And out there you have Jonathan Joseph, who's a Pro Bowl quarterback, along with Spring Jackson. You have the Hall of Famer in waiting, Ed Reed, and then also Daniel Manning. You can't put together a better defense, top to bottom, as far as starters. What they need now is they need the running game to get going a little bit better, and they need Matt Schaub to not lose the game, but manage the game to win the game. Play a little bit better than just a manager, and I think the Houston Texans will play really well for the rest of the season.
We're seeing so many of the NFL teams trying to implement the read option with their mobile quarterbacks, but we're also seeing injuries on the rise with these quarterbacks, and most recently, Mike Vick for the Eagles was knocked out in the game versus the Giants. Jay, do you think that the quarterback can survive in the NFL in the long term running the read option?
I don't think so. I think it's going to be a year, 2 years type of thing. You have to look at RG3. He didn't make it a whole year. Russell Wilson is a little bit stockier built guy, and their offense isn't a full read option offense. They're West Coast drop back, get him out on the edge type of offense. He's athletic. So when you look at Mike Vick, he's had a long history of injury problems. That offense doesn't help him one bit. I don't think the offense lasts long because it puts too much, not only pressure, but too much physical contact on your quarterback. But then also the quarterback has to run a lot, so then therefore he's going to be more open to hamstring pulls, tweaks, stuff like that. And that's the type of thing that you want. But the quarterback position is so valuable in this day and age that you need your quarterback, hopefully, for all 16 games, and then obviously in the playoffs.
We speak of the New York Giants game with the Eagles. Who would have thought that the Jets would be the far better team in New York? What's going wrong with Tom Coughlin's team this year?
So I think it's just one of those years that everything that could go wrong is going wrong. The guys that are your big-name players are playing a little bit better than average. Eli Manning has turned the ball over at an astronomical rate, but I think that he's doing that because he's trying to make plays and trying to make up for the score or if the defense isn't playing well. I'm very surprised that Justin Tuck hasn't really came out and played well. He talked really the last 2 years that he wanted to get back to his old self and hasn't really performed well. The pass rush isn't as dominant as it has been in years past. And then their running game is struggling, and also the offensive line is struggling. So essentially the Giants are a team that's trying to repair themselves, and they don't have any tools to repair it right now. And so they're just hanging on by a thread when you have a mix of young guys that aren't established, that don't know the Giants' way, with a lot of the old guys that have won 2 Super Bowls and know how to win. So you see that right there, that dynamic right now is not working for the New York Giants. But if anybody can get it turned around, it's the Giants' Tom Coughlin.
For the folks in Minnesota who are griping about 1-3, and when you look at the Giants, it could be a whole lot worse. So I guess we do have some things to be thankful about.
Yeah, that's true. You can be over versus if you got one victory. Then obviously last time the Vikings played, they played pretty well, even though Pittsburgh was trying to mount a comeback, which happens in the NFL. But the Vikings were able to hold on and have a good trip.
Well, that brings a close to our edition of Jay Foreman's All-Out Blitz. And next week, Jay will return to talk about his reactions to the game against the Panthers, give us a preview of the Vikings' battle against the Giants in New York, and also tell us what he sees around the rest of the NFL. So until then, I'm Tom Moore.
And I'm Jay Foreman.
We'll see you soon.